Today, our topic today is the prodigals are returning home. The prodigals are returning home. This is from the text in the book of Luke, chapter 15, from verse 11 to 24. That is quite a bit of reading, but that is what we are going to be looking at. And in essence, we shall just be looking at what it represents with our current situations. What are we going through right now as a family, as a household, as a community, as a nation, and the nations of the world. So we shall try and join that together because it is a wide topic. It can go in many different directions, but we shall look at it from the point of view that the Lord was putting in my heart to pay attention to look into, and from there he began to give me the message of what he wants this season to represent. And I know it is Christmas season. Most of the times we want to talk about the son that has been given to us, which is okay. But sometimes the Lord will take you in a different way because he wants to address some things that as a body, as a church, what is our role in this season? What is our role at this time? And that is what I sense the Lord wants us to really do and think about even as we celebrate Christmas celebrations with our families, our children who are returning home from school, and many places and many things that are going on in the world. We need to take time and know what the Lord is saying at this time. So with only about 10 days left to finish the year, there are many things that are moving around. We've just been saying how time has gone so fast. We are just waiting for or looking forward for the next 10 days. So it's a time to push for whatever is remaining. If you know you have prayed, you only have 10 more days for this year if it was your year of prayer. If it was your year of waiting, then it's only 10 more days to wait. Therefore, be expectant. Don't give up, because that's what the Lord wants you to do. That sometimes when you wait for so long and you give up when you are almost there. So we are not going to give up. We are not going to relent. We are going to push until we come to the end. So the topic is the prodigals are returning home. Text from the book of Luke, chapter 15, verse 11 to 24. I think we shall read that one because that will be the context of what we are going to be looking at. Our online viewers, you are most welcome. We don't take it for granted. I hope you are also enjoying yourself in this season. Join us here as we hear what the Lord wants us to hear today in this season. The book of Luke, chapter 15. And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me. And he divided his property between them, so between the 2 sons. Okay, verse 13. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country. So he immigrated. So we can call him an immigrant to where he went. So you see where I'm going with this. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. Okay, verse 15. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, in the country of his domicile, and he began to be in need. Okay? 15. A severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. Continue. Is it acting up? So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields to feed pigs. So in other words, he volunteered himself. He didn't need to be paid. These were free services. He enslaved himself to the master that he may work for him. And because he had pigs, he told him, this is where you're going to work. Okay, 16. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. Remember, he was hungry. He was desperate. His selling himself to go and do whatever he needs to do. So he needs to eat. Okay, 17. But when he came to himself, so when he had an awakening, when he had a spiritual awakening, when he had come from slumber, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger. 18. I will rise and go to my father. So anytime you have an awakening, you have to arise. And I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. So he's going back to the Father now. 19. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. And 22, but the father said to his servant, bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. Wow, things are getting better. 23. And bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. Verse 24, the last one. For this is my son who was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate, just like we are about to begin to celebrate this Christmas. So, and across all the nations of the world today, families are experiencing some of these experiences that one of the sons was experiencing when he had to migrate to a different location. So we know of what is happening in many parts of the world, including here in America, where families are being torn apart. Parents are being taken away. Children are being taken away or left behind. So all these things, we will try and put it together and see, had the prodigal son been chased away, or did he voluntarily want to go by himself? And sometimes the conditions are such that sometimes you are not even willing, or you don't even know why you are doing what you are doing. But then situations can force you to move from one place to another, move from one location to another. So we shall be looking at 5 points, or maybe 6, that we are going to look into why this text was in the scripture. Why is it in the gospel? What is it for us to learn from it? Why 2 sons? Why there is a father? Why there was, why was there hunger in the circumstances of the prodigal? Because the one who was left behind, the father was wealthy. So can you relate to this story yourself, or somebody you know? It doesn't have to necessarily be a suffering of that kind, but there could be a situation that is holding you back, that you are looking back and saying, could this be my own story? Could this be the story of my children? Could this be the story of my neighbors? Could this be the story of my siblings? Could this be my own story? So, and this is what we're going to look here today. But it is also a prophetic word that the prodigals are returning home, and God is restoring displaced families. So this was a displaced family in some sort, because the son was not there. It was not the will of the father that his son left. But why he was happy, and why he welcomed and clothed him and put shoes on his feet and slaughtered a fattened calf, is because he was almost looking like he was dead to him. Though he was alive, he thought that it is a dead situation that is coming to life, more like a resurrection. So, and that is what we are going to be looking at today, starting with where we began in Luke 15, chapter 13 through 16. If you can go there, the cry of the prodigal is also the cry of the people who are having the same experiences. The cry of the prodigal is also the cry of those who are experiencing a similar situation. Luke 15, verse 13 through 16. So yes, it is true, the prodigal left home. He left home for a far-off place. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew this environment where I'm supposed to get out of here. So he left. But he ended up in a situation that he was not expecting. So not many days, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. So it was a different culture probably. It was a different setting. It was a different language maybe. It was a different situation. And for most of us, or literally everyone else who have traveled, every time you go to a different country, there are different settings. There are different languages. You could be speaking English, but their English is different from the English of where you have come from. There are different driving habits. Maybe some people don't stop on a stop sign where you come from, but other places they stop before the stop sign is there, even before the red light come on. So there are all these challenges that come about when people move from one place to another, and this is what we are going to see with this prodigal son, because he's now going to a far country, and because he was not used to this kind of money to manage himself, he would manage it the way he thought is fine, and that's why he lived a reckless living. Verse 14. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine. So is it a coincidence then? Because when you spend everything, then a severe famine comes. So if the severe famine had arose in the place where he went, in that country where he had gone, and he had the resources that he had because he had wealth, he had money, he had been given his inheritance. So if he had lived well and managed his resources, this famine could not have put him in a bad situation. Verse 15. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country. So what do you do then when a famine has come and you have used all your resources recklessly and you are hungry? You need shelter over your head. You need all these things that you need to do to survive. And this is what is happening, because this is the prodigal son that left home and ended up in a hardship situation for wherever he went, to the nation that he went. And this is the story of everybody who has traveled, like we said, and pretty much when you live or move to somewhere else, then you become an immigrant. An immigrant is not a new name because we are hearing so much about it now in the news. It is any time you move to somewhere else or a different location, you become an immigrant to that nation. So you have left your nation for searching or for search of better opportunities probably. Like in his case, he didn't want to stay home again. He thought other places are better places to be. So many people will be drawn to other nations because of different reasons. Maybe there is war in your own country and you don't want to die, and maybe you agree as a family, let us spread ourselves from wherever we can go to save our lives. So he encountered unexpected hardships. Yes, because maybe he had not seen famine in where he had come from, but in this place where you are going geographically is different. Maybe there are seasonal things that happen in that nation. So famine came about, and therefore it was not planned for, but it has come. What do you do? And you don't want to go back home. Maybe it's a hostile environment. Maybe you are a place where you are not celebrated. Maybe you are a place where you are not given opportunity. So what do? He suffered fear and instability, and because of the hunger that he had to endure, he was exploited. And for the most part, this is what happens. Because if you go to a different place, the jobs that the citizens of that country do not want to do, you, because you are desperate, you, because you don't have a high maintenance, most likely you are going to undertake the tasks that others don't want to do, and you don't mind doing it because you're also going to get a resource out of it, and you're going to survive out of the mere means that come out of it. So the prodigal son found himself far off from the country that he had lived, hungry, isolated, and alone. And for the most part, let's just focus on the hunger part, because that will lead you to do anything that you don't even want to do. So the displaced today feel the same, just like this prodigal son was feeling at his time. And this is why the scriptures sometimes mirror or give us not only a narrative of what we are going to expect in our own life or what we are going through our own life, but this is a story that we can learn from and know what do we need to do when things like this happen to our life. Where will I be safe anymore? Where will my family be whole again? Because he was still remembering his father. He was still remembering the other sibling. He was still remembering his mother where he left. So though he was in a different place, his mind and his heart ached for the family because he knew they are still in existence. So in these times, in this situation, when you are in this kind of situation, you ask yourself a lot of questions. Where is peace on earth? Does God even hear or care about these situations? And let's look at Psalms 86 and verse 15. We'll look at a little bit of more scriptures today because God cares, God sees, and God hears our situation and knows our situation. Psalms 86 and verse 15. This is where we are going to know that one of the names of God because he cares for us. His name is El Rakum. That's a different name from what we are used to. But from Psalms 86 and verse 15, you will see why this is important. Because every time you think that nobody cares in the world, like the prodigal son, when he was hungry, he felt like nobody is seeing him, nobody cares about him. This is what Psalms 86 and verse 15 tells us. But you, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. God cares for you. He is merciful and he's gracious and slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. What about the God who sees? You probably don't need to go there, but this is in Genesis chapter 16 and verse 13. We know of the story of Hagar. When she was chased away, what happened? She went and she was hungry. She was thirsty. There are all these things that were missing. But then in the situation that she was in, she was wondering, is there anyone who can see my situation? Yes, God sees, just like the prodigal son. When he thought that nobody cares, when he thought that nobody sees, God sees, and that is the testament of what we are learning today, that God cares. We have seen that in Psalms 86 and 15, and God sees in Genesis 16 and verse 13, because he said, behold, the God who sees has seen my situation, and he has come to my rescue. God hears. Yes, you are crying, and you're wondering, is there a God who hears? Is there a God who is even listening right now? There is a popular scripture in the Bible which says, the Shema Israel, hear, O Israel. So God hears. If you're crying out to him, he hears. And if he hears, then also God responds. So those are four areas that I wanted to emphasize, that God cares, God sees, and God hears, and much more, God responds. His name is Yahweh. This is a covenantal name that is responsive in nature because he responds to our situation. Isaiah 65 and 24. Before you call in that prayer, before you go in your closet and cry out to God, Isaiah 64 and 24 says, before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. So God hears. And if he hears, he responds. Point number 2, no matter why they left, God is making a way back. And this is where we're talking about the prodigals are going home. Luke 15 and verse 17. He came to himself. The turning point of the prodigal son was the moment he came to himself. But when he came to himself, so in other words, he had a spiritual awakening. He had an insight that he never knew before. He had to come to that level where he knows, I stay like this, I perish, but I have to do something, and that is the moment of awakening. He awoke from slumber. He awoke from ignorance. And this is what is happening in most places, in most of us, in most of our life. Today, God is awakening hearts everywhere. It's not just about those who have migrated to other places. He is looking to those who have also left the church. There are people who have left the church. There are people who have walked away from their faith. There are people who have drifted due to shame, sin, or even sometimes even pain. They have left the church for a different reason. Those who have become weary and are wondered. They are wondering, when will this ever come? I'm not finding solutions in the places of worship, in the tabernacles. Wherever I go, I don't see a solution. There are those who are spiritually displaced. False doctrine have infiltrated our churches. And therefore, people are not seeing the power of God. They are seeing, because there is more of the form as opposed to the power that is demonstrated. So people have walked away. People have gone back from where they have come from. And this is more like the prodigal son. He left the place of safety. He left a sanctuary. He left a place where he was fed. He left a place of comfort. But things have happened, and you have been physically displaced from where you are. You have gone to a different place. Maybe it is willingly. Maybe it is by force. Like those who are being deported, for example, it is not their will that they want to go where they came from, but the situation has come, and the government is saying, we don't want people in our nation. And this is not just in America alone. It's pretty much in the northern hemisphere where people are, and people are being displaced. They are being told to go back. The prodigal son volunteered not because he wanted to go back, but because of the circumstances of what he was going through. But like we said, it's not just about the physical moving, the physical displacement, the physical returning, but this is also in the church happening even in our modern day today. I was reading a text, and they were saying that even in this very year of 2025, that there have been so many churches that have been closed all over the world. Why? Because they are not able to even anymore pay their bills, because there are no people. People have returned back to the world. Why? Because they have seen that the church is not a solution to them anymore. They have left because there is nothing the church is offering in our day to day. So the same God who stirred the prodigal son, because the prodigal son, how did he come to the awakening or knowing that I needed to do something about my situation? It was God who was stirring his heart. He was stirring him, and he was patient with him. If we look at the message that we read some time back, sometimes you think that God is not around. God is not near you. Where was God when the Ark of the Covenant was taken by the Philistines? That was a message we preached sometime. So where was God? He was very close. So the prodigal son himself was the same thing. Where was God? He was with him when he had the inheritance. He was with him when he went away. He was with him when he was squandering. And he was still with him until the last minute when he began to stir his heart to come to an awakening, that even in this generation, God is stirring our heart. He's stirring our condition. The things that we are going through, sometimes they cause you to come closer to God. People who left God are coming back. Those who have left the churches, they are being stirred wherever they are, because there is no solution there either. So where sometimes you run to thinking that there's a solution, you find out very quickly that it is probably even worse than where you left. So people are being pushed out of being in places of their comfort because they have been so comfortable and they're losing their purposes. But then God is stirring like he stirred the prodigal son, and he began to awaken. He began to come to his senses. He began to think hard and long that if I am go back in my father's house, and the people who are working for him are probably even staying better than I am. Probably they are eating better food than I am where I am. So what do I need to do? Let us look at Luke 15 and verse 20. The father's heart breaks when families are torn apart, because because he left, it was not the will of his father. The father's heart was torn. The father's heart did not rejoice because of what decisions he has made. So whatever the case that may have caused you to come out of your area or be removed from where you are, the heart of the father is that he is not happy about the situation. Luke 15 and verse 20. And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. This, in the Jewish culture or in the Near Eastern, Middle Eastern culture of the time, was a great honor whenever somebody would embrace you, whenever somebody would kiss you on your cheek. It meant they are wholeheartedly welcoming you from the bottom of their heart. So by the act of the father, what he did, when he saw his son, because he saw him coming, one who was dead has come alive. When he saw him coming, he ran towards him. So Jesus gives an image of the father because this is what the father does to us. Anytime you come towards him, when you are lost, when you give your life to Jesus Christ, the father embraces you because he is your creator. He wants you back to himself more than you think, or more than you think that you are doing, probably giving him a favor by when you decide you want to be born again. The God who moves towards the people that are hurting was the same God who was the prodigal son, because he was hurting wherever he was. And when he saw him from afar off, he ran towards him. So in other words, anytime you make a decision to return back to the fold, to return back to where you know your safety is, to return back to God, to go back to that prayer group, to go back to that fellowship, to go back to church, every time you make that decision, the hand of God is always very close to you, and his arms are outreached for you, because he wants to receive you back to himself, because that is your place of safety. It is your sanctuary. That is where you get every provision that you are desiring in this life. So, but this is not just spiritual, it's also a humanitarian and a divine gesture of what the Father is doing here. So when a family is separated through the things that we have looked up above, God is grieved when families are put apart, because God is our Father. Whenever people are going through circumstances that cause families to separate, maybe it may even be internal wrangling, maybe it may even be disagreement amongst family members. Every time you depart from one another, then God is not happy about it. He is grieved in that condition. So when a child cries because a parent, for example, in our situation now, when people are being deported, when somebody is taken from you, whether it is a parent or whether it is a child, heaven is not silent on these issues. It looks with lenses that are looking to retaliate at the appropriate time. When someone is forced out of where they have lived, when you have been forced from where you are right now and taken to a different place, heaven sees the injustices and is looking for a position and an opportunity, because God is not going to be silent forever. So God is not blind to the trauma of what is going on in the northern hemisphere for the people who are being returned or deported, or people who are being put in jail because of the situations that they are in. It is not a condition that you have signed up to, but you have come and found yourself in a position like the prodigal son, because he went to a far-off country, a different culture, a place where he was not used to. And because he has gone there, things are different there. They are done differently. So the father in the story runs towards his son to restore him back. Remember, he was still a wealthy father. It's just like the Father in heaven. Our Father who has it, he owns 1,000 cattle in the hill. So he is loaded with stuff. So it is not a question of whether you are going to lack or you are going to miss anything with him, but he wants to restore you to who he created you to become. He embraces, he outstretches his arms. Remember, we say that he was kissing him. He embraced him. He clothed him. Why? Because he wants you to be restored to a healing position where everything that you have gone through forget all that now, because you are where you belong. You have come back to where your provision is. You have come back to where you are supposed to be. And therefore, God is able to restore and to heal your heart from the wounded places where you are struggling with right now. He's running towards every child. He's running towards every parent. And he's running towards every soul that feels that they are being neglected, that they are far away from home, that they have suffered enough. He's calling you. He's stirring something in your heart that will awaken your spirit, and you remember who you are in God, and that you are a creation that was created in the image and likeness of God. And anytime you return to him, he is going to welcome you, because he's a God of mercy. Number 5, God uses broken journeys to bring beautiful restoration. So we can see in this situation of the prodigal son, because he had a journey that he had taken away from his home. 1, he left his home. Number 2, he lost everything. And number 3, there was a lesson to be learned by those experiences. And number 4, he was returning because there was nothing good the world would offer him. So this is a journey that many people, whenever you migrate to a different country, you are going to encounter. You have to live where you are. And we said, for example, some people will live as missionaries to go to other nations. It's a place where you have never been. We have read and known of many people who have gone to missions in Africa, missions in China. These are places that they had never been before. They don't know their weather, their climate, their culture, all these kind of things. So, and for some, they have been forced to leave because of the wars maybe in their nation. High and runaway unemployment. So you think that if I stay here, I will die. I have to migrate. Maybe it could be a situation like we are learning or hearing about Venezuela or even Haiti and other places, that you feel like if we stay here, we are going to die. What we need to do, we are going to migrate. So you are losing the stability of your environment, the places where you know your community, your belonging. You are leaving all that behind and learning to survive in a strange land, because that is what it is. So, but one thing in common is that you always remember from where you have come from. You always have nostalgia. You always have homesick of where you have coming, or of the environment, the community that you have left behind, and you'll be having a longing to one day, God willing, that you are going to visit your place of nativity from where you had come from, because there is a homesick of some sort. But here is the prophetic truth about each and every one of those that I have mentioned above. God specializes in turning broken journeys into redemptive testimonies, like the case of the prodigal son. Yes, he went happy. He was loaded. He had all the resources he needed. He went and stayed by himself, did everything that he would want to do by himself. Nobody knew him. He had all the liberty to do every crazy thing that he wanted to do. That's why the Bible says it was reckless living, because nobody knew him anyways. But in the whole situation, there came about a learning. He lost everything. There was the living. Then there was a learning. There was the living, and there was the losing. And then there was the learning process. Now he came to his senses. He's like, I blew up all my mind. I blew up all my money, everything else. Now what do I do? He could have said, I want to go back home, but he was not ready for home at that point. But life has a way of teaching us lessons whenever we are going through some tough times. So he had a time to learn. He had to go and become a slave to one of the people who were citizens in that nation, because there's nothing else to lose anyway. And he wants to leave. And this is why God specializes in turning around those broken journeys, those broken promises, those things that you have waited for so long and you're not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel, because he wants to give you a testimony. So every test ends up in a testimony. So the prodigal son may have returned back home when he was weak, when he came to his senses, but he was wiser and he was ready for the restoration. So when the father embraced him, When the father put back the shoes and put a garment on him and kissed his cheek and everything else, he was not going to make the same mistakes again. Why? Because life has a way of teaching us. He learned his lessons, and he was now wiser, able and capable to even become an heir, because he has seen what the world has to offer. Sometimes we think the world is everything. We want to do everything and everything we can in the world before we give our life to Jesus Christ. We wait until when we are old and maybe even going with a walking stick so that you can give your life to God at the end of the road. But who knows when your end is? So you never know when it's time that you are going to exit from this world. So the best time to come to God is now. It's not tomorrow, because you are not guaranteed about your tomorrow. Number 5, the prodigals are coming back. This is both spiritually and physically. Those who left God are coming back. And some of them have become addicts. You know of somebody, maybe in your family, in your community, maybe it's a sibling, maybe you are the one. You have backslidden. You have become an addict. Maybe you have been wounded by other believers. They have backbited you. They have stamped your back. Maybe you are hurt in church. Things do happen. We are not perfect. But if you are hurt enough to go away and leave God, then God is saying that time has come. An awakening is coming in your heart. And those addicts are about to come back home. Those backsliders are about to come back to the church. Those wounded believers, those who said, I don't want to see or hear anything Christian because these believers are all phony, they are all cheaters. They are all not right. They preach water and they drink wine. So there are all manner of excuses that you can have. But the sons and the daughters are coming back because, yes, the enemy may have come in that form because he did not want you to fulfill your purpose in God. And therefore you walked away. You left. You are losing while you are there. But now that you have learned your experiences, you are about to come back home because that's where your comfort is. Those who left the churches are returning. The Spirit is tugging hearts as we speak right now. There is a revival of some sort, because you can only revive what is dead. So if you're spiritually filled and on fire for God, you cannot be revived. You can only be awakened. But you are revived because you knew God. You knew a certain experience. And because God is stirring your heart right now, wherever you are, He's tagging you to Himself. You are being awakened from slumber. And you're wondering, when is it I'm going back home? Because I feel that there is something in this situation. And this is a good time as we end the year. Don't cross over from the other side of the camp. Come back home. God is embracing. He's opening up His arms, and He wants you back to Himself. You could be one of those who have been separated from your families with the policies that are going on, especially in the U.S., with this administration of this time. For the last message we said, does God judge modern day kings? Yes, He does. The same God who moved kings in Scripture can also change the same laws that are affecting people today. He can soften the government. He can influence the judges to rule in your favor. He can open the borders that are being closed to the immigrants all over the world, not just in America, all over the world. He can break the red tape for the quickening of the processing of those documents that are going to make you legal wherever you are. He can reverse decisions that have already been made against you. And He will, mark my words, He will reunite the families again. Why? Because in the Bible we know of God who restored Israel after exile. They may have stayed for 70 or so years, wherever they were, but they were restored. God restored Jacob's family after famine, because they had to migrate from where they were to go to Egypt, thinking that Egypt will provide for them, and it did for a while. But God restored them because they went back to the promised land. God restored the prodigal after wandering, because this was the context of our story today in Luke 15. Because when the prodigal left, God still restored him. So the same God who restored Israel from exile, the same God who restored Jacob's family after famine, the same God who restored the prodigal son after wandering, he's the same God who is going to restore you today. He can restore even the displaced families today, because that is where the hope message comes in, because many people are in despair. They don't know what to do now. Some are even thinking about committing suicide because you don't know where to begin. Where can one begin if you have gone through all these things that you have gone through now? Yes, there is hope. God can still restore. Point number 6, as we come to almost the close, the church must be the Father's arms in times like this, or in a season like we are in today. So just imagine, for example, we said and we sang some beautiful choruses here in worship about the Christmas environment that is around us. But imagine how many people will not be as a family today in this Christmas, just like it was in Thanksgiving. Imagine of the families that are going to cross over, but they are not crossing over the way they have always been, because they have been affected one way or another. The father in the parable didn't shame the son when the son came back. He didn't ask him, where were you? He didn't ask him, are you a citizen or an immigrant? He didn't ask for the documentation. He didn't ask for the papers to prove. He didn't check the qualifications of coming back, because he was already outstretching his arms to embrace his son. He didn't interrogate him that what exactly did you do and how stupid and foolish are you. He didn't condemn his son. That is key, because whatever he did, we cannot say the prodigal son did the best thing that we should learn from, but he did it anyhow. But that's why the Bible tells us that gives us examples so that we can learn from them. But the father didn't rebuke him, and he didn't ask questions or condemn his son, but he embraced him. So this is what the church must do, because the church is the outstretched arm of the body of Christ. We are the hands and the feet in this kind of situation. And this the church must do, is that they must embrace those who are returning to faith. They could be addicts. They could be people who have been broken by the world. They could not be looking like you, who is already polished in the things of God. They could not be speaking like you. Maybe they are even every 3 words there's a curse word that comes out of them. The church must embrace those who are returning back to the faith. The church also must be welcoming to the immigrants without judgment. Those people who are coming home, the prodigals who are coming wherever they are coming, and they are going wherever they are going, wherever they're being returned to. The first people to embrace them is not even their governments, it is the church, because that is the work and the role of the church. The church will provide safety for the vulnerable. That is what the church is about. Because when everybody else has given up on you, then the church should be the extended arms of God that will advocate for you when you return to them, because that is our role. The doors are open for a reason. It is a sanctuary of God. It is a place for mercy. It is a place where God is faithful to restore those who are broken. The church must be the one to rebuild families, not to break them. It should be the advocate. When families are broken, it is the church that should come together and show them what family means, what we are all about. It is a role of the church to restore dignity and not enforcing shame or shaming those who are going through situations like the prodigal son, because he has come back home. Imagine if he went back home and the first thing was told, you don't belong here anymore. You took your share, you went and blew it away, like what the son, or the elder son who was left behind. He felt something inside of him. Why? Because he felt that this is an unfair treatment. How can you embrace somebody who has squandered his inheritance, and now because he's coming back, you are giving him everything? So when the world pushes people out, the church must be the place they can run into. It is the role of the church to outstretch its arms and receive those who are running away from trouble. Receive those who are coming away from the world. receive those who have come to an awakening and a revival in their spirit. The ones who have backslidden and they want to go back to church is not to ask them, look at you now. You thought you were going to be better off when you went away. Now you have come back and you have found us. No, that is not the role of the church. Is to embrace and receive them as they come, and from there begin to reunite them to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. God is preparing a revival of the returning house. The prodigals are returning home. This is what we have seen. The message is the prodigals are returning home. We have seen how this one son had to come to a place of returning back. So sons who strayed will preach again. Those people who have left your family. It is not just about the prodigal. It's about also your own children. Some people have been raised in church and they're not in church anymore. They are coming back and they're coming to take their position. Both sons and daughters. They are coming back and they're coming back with the fire of God in them. The daughters who fell will rise again in purpose. Those people who you have thought that they have been an outcast, they have been rejected by the church, they have been rejected by society. God is restoring them and they are rising up to their purpose, only that this time they are wiser because they have learned some few things along the way. So families torn apart will be united by the supernatural hand of God. So it is God's business how he does things. And when we don't understand it, we know that he is the way maker. He is a God who does things supernaturally. And if he wants to do something today and you don't know how it's going to happen, just trust him, because he has a hand of a supernatural God that will do things that no man can do for you or me. So those who left the church will come back burning with fire, because they know now that it is only in God that they can fulfill their full potential. So this is not the end. Home is calling. The church is calling. An awakening is all over the universe. Grace is calling everyone who has run away from God. God wants to restore you. He wants to bring you back to the fold. He wants to run after you when you turn towards him. Remember the story of Moses and the burning bush? When he looked at it, it didn't matter much. But when he turned, things happened and God spoke. So every time the experiences of the world take you to a place of turning towards God, God moves. God opens his arms. And that is the role of the church, that we embrace those who God is bringing back. In conclusion, the prodigal didn't return home because he was perfect. He wasn't. As a matter of fact, he didn't even want to be recognized when he went back. Why? Because he knew that justice does not demand for him to be restored as a son. But he returned because when the father saw him from afar, he was merciful. He was loving. He embraced him. That is when he knew, and of course from his heart he would say, I have seen before God and before my father. You don't need to receive me back like a son. I am willing and I am ready to become just like one of your workers. But God is not and does not operate that way. Though he was imperfect, no one is perfect, he returned to his father who was merciful, and he received him back as one of his sons. In other words, he restored him to sonship. He was not a worker or a slave in that family. And today, the lost are returning. And because they are returning, God is embracing them. The displaced are also returning. The wounded are returning. Those who are being taken by force, those who are being deported, they are being restored. The spiritually exiled, those who have run away from church, those who have given up on the ministry, those who have given up on the word of God, they are coming back home. Why? Because the Father is waiting with open arms. He is ready to receive them. He is ready to receive you. He is ready to receive you and is calling you. And he wants you to come back to him. And the church has to join him. The church has to join the Father and be the catalyst, be the agent, be the hands and the feet of Jesus Christ, where we are going to embrace the prodigals because they are returning home. So this is the message for each and every one of us, or someone you know, someone in your community. Pray for them. Know that they are not in that condition sometimes because they wanted to. They may have made mistakes. They probably are your own parents. Maybe they are your own children. They have given up on the God of their fathers. They have given up on the father figure because maybe they have not seen a good example. But there is one who is embracing, one who is and will always be loving, one who loved us so much that he gave his only begotten Son that we should not perish but have everlasting life. He's still reaching out. He's stirring our hearts right now. He's tugging the hearts of those who are lost. And he's calling you back home because he wants you where you belong. You are not prodigal anymore. He wants to restore you to sonship in his kingdom. So Merry Christmas. Shalom. See you next time. I hope you have a good time with your family and your friends. And remember, God is loving and he loves you with an outstretched arm. God bless you. See you next time.